A country that endured 2 atomic bombings in 1945 and was nearly obliterated, then rose from the ruins to become one of the world's most powerful economies, only to unexpectedly fall into a tragic economic disaster. From this description, you can probably guess which country I'm referring to, right? Yes, it's Japan. The story of Japan's turbulent journey, which I'm about to share, will undoubtedly teach us a lot about development, optimism, and the mistakes made during a nation's growth. Hello, I'm Mason. Where Mason is, economic and social issues are analyzed with ease. Before diving into the main content, please note that this video is compiled by me and my team from numerous sources. If you have any feedback or additions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Let's start in 1945, when Japan had just concluded World War II. The country was almost entirely wiped out. Skyscrapers, factories, infrastructure, all destroyed. Imagine a nation where everything was reduced to rubble, with people facing widespread starvation, unemployment, and a nearly collapsed society. After the war, Japan was even isolated internationally, as it was not just a defeated nation, but also one that haunted the world with memories of its imperial past and the atrocities it committed in its colonies. But do you know why Japan was able to rise from the rubble and achieve such extraordinary growth after the war? To understand this, let's travel back to the Cold War era, a time when the US needed a strong ally in Asia to counter the Soviet Union and China. In the 1950s, America was deeply concerned about the spread of communism in Asia, especially after Mao Zedong's victory in China in 1949 and the outbreak of the Korean War in 1950. The US realized that to prevent the spread of communism in Asia, it needed a strong outpost in East Asia. Japan, with its advanced industry and strategic location, became an indispensable partner for America. However, Japan didn't merely ally with the US passively. Japanese leaders, particularly Prime Minister Ikeda Hayato, were astute in leveraging American support. They negotiated a lower exchange rate for the yen against the US dollar, making Japanese goods cheaper and more competitive in the US market. This policy allowed Japan to significantly boost its exports, particularly in key industries like shipbuilding, chemicals, and electronics. Just 23 years after the war, Japan had undergone a complete transformation. By 1973, its economy had surpassed major Western powers like France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, becoming the second largest economy in the world, trailing only the US. Japanese brands like Sony, Panasonic, Toyota, and Nissan began dominating global markets. From Sony Walkman players to Toyota cars, these products were not just goods. They became symbols of sophistication, quality, and durability. At the time, the Japanese people eagerly awaited the 1990s, confident they would surpass the US to become the world's top economy. But unfortunately, instead of welcoming a bright future, Japan plunged into a severe economic disaster, ironically exacerbated by its ally, the US. By this time, Americans were growing frustrated with the overwhelming presence of Japanese products in their country. Many openly blamed Japan as a villain, exploiting America's economy to rise. In response, a conference was held to devise solutions to reduce the U.S. trade deficit and revive its economy after the early 1980s recession. Under pressure from the U.S., Japan reluctantly agreed to increase the value of the yen, even though it knew this would severely impact its export-driven economy. To illustrate the impact of the yen's appreciation, imagine this. The price of a Japanese car in the U.S. more than doubled between 1985 and 1989. This price hike wasn't limited to cars. All Japanese goods faced similar challenges. delivering a heavy blow to Japan's exports. To salvage the situation, Japan's central bank implemented a low-interest rate policy. Tokyo hoped that easing credit would encourage domestic businesses to expand and offset export losses. But unexpectedly, instead of focusing on investment and technological innovation, people funneled their loans into real estate. At this point, the real estate market, especially in Tokyo, became the new gold mine. Land prices skyrocketed and banks eagerly provided loans to people for buying property. Consequently, already overinflated land values soared even higher. When Japan's government recognized the dangers of a real estate bubble, it decided to raise interest rates from 2.5% in late 1989 to 6% in 1990 to curb the situation. However, this only worsened the crisis. Property values began to plummet, leading to bad loans, and the disaster unfolded. Imagine this. You're a Japanese citizen at the time, and your prized plot of land, which could previously be used as collateral to secure loans worth 10 times its real value, suddenly lost most of its worth. Banks, realizing their collateral was now worthless, panicked and started dumping properties on the market. This caused property prices to nosedive further. Both banks and real estate investors suffered devastating losses, marking the bursting of Japan's economic bubble. People lost their savings, banks couldn't recover their loans, numerous businesses went bankrupt, and Japan's economy once again fell into stagnation. The younger generation growing up in the aftermath of the bubble burst is often referred to as the lost generation. The severe economic recession reduced job opportunities, leading to widespread unemployment. Coupled with family pressures and a tough life, this became one of the reasons for Japan's declining population trend. And there you have it, the story of Japan. The tale of a nation that rose spectacularly, only to falter tragically. A story of strategic missteps in economic management and leadership errors that triggered a chain of events driving the nation from its peak to its nadir. Nevertheless, Japan's story serves as a valuable reminder for developing nations. Sustainable growth requires balanced and flexible strategies, not reliance on a single factor. Today, Japan remains a developed nation, but no longer holds the dominant position it once did. Its economy faces numerous challenges, from an aging population to labor shortages. Can Japan rise again, or will it continue to grapple with insurmountable obstacles? Only time will reveal the answer. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to support Mason. See you in the next video.